Hi, everybody. This is Bill. I'm coming at you with another edition of Billboard Comics, and it's a subsection Growing Up Comics. This one is a very special episode of Billboard Comics. I have a little bit written down, but I'm mostly going through my heart and my head from this. So forgive me forgive me if I go astray. Um, uh, this June 9th would have been George Perez's 71st birthday. And I know you're saying I should probably have waited 4 years to make this video, or I should have done it last year. Didn't have the site last year, and who knows if I'm going to last for 4 years. But nonetheless, I want to take this opportunity around this time to do my tribute to him. He is hands down, without doubt, was my favorite comic book artist and creator and writer, and just all in. Uh, like they talk about people having five skill guys. He's got 2,000 skills. That's how uh, my respect and admiration for him is. Um, he was born on June 9th, obviously, of 1954, and he first started working in comics about 20 years later, when he was in his 20s, give or take, on Astonishing Tales, number looks like 28, 28 on the Deathlock series. Um, that was his first work in comics and his first work for Marvel, and he slowly started to build up um, uh, a career in comics. Starting with Marvel, he worked on the Creatures on the Loose and a bunch of stuff like this, and then eventually he gained enough status and sway to get an assignment with the Avengers. I believe it was Avengers 141. Um, and also at the same time, Inhumans. He was the artist on the first Inhumans uh, series back at the time. I believe they said within weeks of each other. And from there, he also went on to do the Logan's Run adaptation, and he also did a bunch of Marvel Premiere. I think he did artwork on the Man Wolf feature in that in the '70s, and he also did a run on the Fantastic Four. So he was a pretty big name even before he hit DC and new the new Teen Titans. But that's where I came on with him and found out about him, and um, just to get your little head space. I think I was maybe 12 at the time. I forget which one. It was actually one. It's probably Teen Titans number 32 or 33. I think it's the one that introduced Thunder and Lightning, and that's when I became a fan of that. And soon I became a fan of George Perez's artwork. And one of the things I'm going to gloat over everybody here is because I have a thing that a lot of people these days will never be able to attain. I was able to see George Perez's artwork as soon as it happened, like opening a book and having new George Perez artwork. Because right now he's no longer with us, and his artwork is always all in the past. So, um, but just to see him in New Teen Titans, um, again, DC at the time was kind of stayed and kind of conservative and kind of withdrawn. They only had two things that kind of mixed with Marvel, because Marvel's always seen it's being the more timely, uh, no pun intended, more up to date, more hip, more happening, more you know, like like you know, people had problems, people had real lives outside of there. Even though they had the powers of gods, they still behaved like human beings and had human foibles and had the stuff that the readers had to deal with. They had to deal in with their lives in the comic books. DC didn't really have much like that. The DC was kind of all kind of the path down gone. Even when they tried to do stuff in with um, Superman, it became kind of um, it didn't really seem to stick. They always seemed to be a level or two above like the people reading them. It was kind of a more ideal format, except for two major books. It was the New Teen Titans and the Legion of Superheroes, and they became the most popular books at DC, for obvious reason. Um, the New Teen Titans was DC Comics' answer to the X Men at the time, and X Men was monstrally popular during the late '70s, early '80s. It kind of like took over into the Marvel, you know, being the trademark team from Marvel, and like where Spider Man used to be the number one guy, they became the number one guys and girls and whatever. Um, but it was built up on like having interpersonal relationships and people talking and people having fun and certain people not liking each other, but there's a reason for that not liking the other, and they're more complex and nuanced characters. While still at the same time in Superman was like basically like, well, hi Lois, how you doing? I'm going to do this. Oh, Superman, I wish I could find you. You'd marry me. And variations of that theme kind of thing. It's kind of like basically kind of like simple melodrama, and like minimal one issue resolved conflicts. Um, but New Teen Titans, written by Marv Wolfman, who was and co-plotted by Perez, kind of like took the mold from the Marvel way of working, because Marv Wolfman used to be editor in chief at Marvel before he came over, and kind of like created kind of like a similar kind of thing there. A group of kids sidekicks. This is like the second or third incarnation. They've been in comic books since the late '60s. Teen Titans. Um, Actually, I think the early '60s, because they made their first appearance in Brave and Bold. But they were kind of like they had a whole bunch of like stuff there, and I kind of thought it was an afterthought. Like some of the early Teen Titan books are, uh, like you get to see the Mad Mod and like, oh wow, we're going to protest this because we're kids, and usually it's like from the attitude like these kids don't really know what they're doing, and kind of like a hey you swinging cats, come down to this jam because we were and it's if you could imagine like a teen comic book written by a 60-year-old man, who hasn't been hip in 40 years. That's what the early Teen Titans were before Wolfman and Perez took over. But when they took over, they kind of brought up to the modern day sensibility, the Marvel sensibility, where they had like still had kids sidekicks like one old members like Robin and Kid Flash and Wonder Girl, but they added in a whole bunch of ones like Raven, and Raven character was like she's the daughter of a demon and a uh, human woman, and she's constantly being pulled behind between both aspects of like, you know, destroying the world with hellfire or just trying to like be a regular human being girl. You have Cyborg, who was trapped in a lab accident, and he lost half his body and was replaced by robotics, and he considers himself to be a freak. He's kind of like the Ben Grimm thing of the team. Then you have Starfire, a escaped warrior princess from Tamaran, who came to Earth, and she's trying to hide out from her captors, and also from her family from her homeworld, who want her to be like part of the whole. We know who you're going to marry. You're going to take over the throne. This is what you're going to do. Yada yada yada. Um, so they're all like the new characters are so exciting compared to the other ones, um, but they also added elements to the other ones. It's like about um, Kid Flash not really wanting to be a hero anymore, and his journey, which eventually ended when he took over for Barry Allen as the Flash after the Crisis information, Crisis from the Earth's series, um, and there's a whole issues like about like Donna Troy's um, history, because you know about the character. She started off as a Wonder Tot and then Wonder Girl, and she's supposed to be the adventures of Wonder Woman as a child. And then Bob Haney, the guy who was just wacky, one of the wackiest writers ever, like continuity didn't really mean much to him, decided to make her a Teen Titan, which was the Teen Titans were contemporaries of the adult Justice League and the adult Wonder Woman, and they never really explained why she came there, and they had to like backfill, like do a retroactive continuity kind of like origin for her, and so yeah, so that was cleared up by Wolfman and Perez, but um, you know the stories were kind of like scintillating. They're really 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 great, and like it really kind of shined in especially with George Perez's storytelling and artwork. I said this. You'll if you watch chronologically, if you watch my I think the last video I posted here, or the second last video I posted here, was about my golden age of comic books, and there's the New Teen Titans were smack dab in the middle of that, and two really important storylines and issues were in there. It's the storyline, the Judas Contract, which ran for 4 issues, in the New Teen Titans um, main title, and also finished in the annual number 3, I believe, and also Teen Titans the Tales of the Teen Titans number 50, which detailed the um, marriage of Wonder Girl and Terry Long. And I got a chance to read over those, like when I was doing uh, the video for it, and just amazed by how even back then, like he was really cooking with oil back then. That's probably at the height of his artistic thing. He wasn't even like a pro for 10 years. He's like probably like 8 years into the game by that point. But it's just the way he laid out a page, the way he could create a scene. A lot of the wedding issue is there's no fights, there's nobody breaks in, nobody does anything. It's just a wedding, and just the way there's subplots putting in there and going back and forth like this, but just the way you know Perez shows a conversation, or the way he breaks up a page with like long oblong uh, like panels instead of like 9 square panels. He has one thing where the band's playing, and the band is shown as like the bassist is just wailing away on his bass on the side there to show like the action that's going on there. It's just brilliant artwork. I will put that issue up against any other issue by anybody else. I know a lot of people like me saying like George Perez is the best artist of all time is a hot take, and people think Jim Lee, Alex Ross, Jack Kirby. Um, I agree with, like, you have your right to disagree, but for me personally, nobody could actually do that kind of like story better. He could make the boring talky parts seem exciting just by the facial expressions he used, and the layouts he did, and like the way he positions the people, and the use of shadow, and the use of like moon, and use lighting, and like it's just it I I that got me hooked on George Perez as an artist, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who got on there. Um, but he moved on from there, and he went on to him and Marv Wolfman went on to one of the biggest projects DC Comics ever did, Crisis on Infinite Earths. And one of the big qualities that about um, George Perez that made him awesome, and there's a lot of things that made him awesome, so don't get me wrong on that, is the fact that he knows how to fill a page, but he also knows how to fit as many characters in that page as possible without losing clarity or their direction or purpose or the actual like meaning for the scene. And he therefore and forthwith became the perfect artist for Crisis on Infinite Earths. It featured every character DC ever had, and not only that, every DC character that like Quality Comics ever had, or Charlton Comics ever had, or Fawcett Comics ever had, all in one book. There's like literally hundreds, if not thousands, of characters that George Perez had to bring to life, and he did. And you could tell like when Detective Chimp is like looking at something there, and like it's not even explained in the text, but he's there, and if you want to know what's going on with that chimp with the Sherlock Holmes hat on, you'd be able to like, oh wow, okay, that brings your attention. It's just so amazing the way he does that, and um, everybody who came after Jack Kirby owes a debt of gratitude to Jack Kirby, and George Perez is no different. George Perez has the same kind of bombastic style, like where the characters just leap off the page and somebody gets punched and they're sent into next week kind of thing, and usually looking like they're going to come out the comic book page in the process. Um, but not everybody could actually do it, add their own spin to it, or make it their own. you know George Perez did. George Perez, like, you could tell, like, he had the style, the kind of bombastic style, but it was, it was his style as well too. Uh, he didn't ape like Jack Kirby's actual panels. He just drew his characters in a similar way that got the similar point across. Um, so I mean, it's just amazing that his artwork, and like, I can't go on about it. But he's also a very good writer. After the crisis, DC hit the reset button on everything and combined all the multiple universes, the infinite Earths, into one Earth. And of course, there's like some flotsam and jetsam there. You can have two Supermans, you can have two Wonder Womans, you can have all that. The Silver Golden Age Batman died in continuity like about 10 years before, so it's they had to do cleaning house, and instead of like I think they might have actually, I don't know if that's just the intention all along, or just decided like, hey, well, no, we did all this now. Why don't we just start over with everybody this way? They decided to actually like start over. Um, they revamped Superman. They did like kind of a soft, like John Byrne did that. They did like a soft reboot of Batman. He told about his first year and stuff. It is how that happened, done by Frank Miller and Dave Mazzucchelli. Um, and for the last of the big three, they put it in the hands of uh, George Perez, and um, with the help from Greg Potter, I believe, in the early issues. And he proved himself to be really great as a writer. Um, his Wonder Woman was more like Wonder Woman always seemed kind of like staid and kind of like, you know, like like not really being taken serious. Like, hey, one moment she's in mythology, next thing she's marrying a person with a broccoli head, next thing like she's lost her powers entirely and she's a super agent. Oh, okay, she's got her parents powers back, but now she's in World War II, and now it's like there she was there's not even an argument. She was like one of the big three of DC Comics. Uh, both in the comic books and outside of it. She had her own TV show and stuff like this, but she was always kind of like, you know, nobody seemed to know what to do with her until George Perez came around, and he kind of like, first of all, everything was beautifully drawn, but he made a big thing about trying to introducing Greek mythology into it. She became more attuned to like mythology. Ares was her bad guy, and that's the reason why he was the bad guy in the first Wonder Woman movie. It became more of that, and she became more of a Earth's messenger to Earth, like a fish out of water, and more of a simpler, naive kind of like more gentle, like kind of person. Intelligent, smart, uh, able to capable, but nonetheless, she's reacting it to the world with new eyes, and eyes that are not used to the cynicism of the Earth. And it's a great take for the character, and it lasted for a while, and then eventually, like, after you've had like a couple hundred issues, they'd have to make her like a little bit more. They went to the whole kind of stupid human tricks, like, oh, she's not going to be Wonder Woman anymore. Oh, she's getting rid of her costume. She's changing her costume. Oh, okay, she's now going to fight Doomsday. It's like, so it kind of like went to the more gimmicky thing. But for a brief shining moment, like during George Perez's run, he was on there, writer artist for a long time, and he just took over as being simply a writer. I think Jill Thompson was one of the artists that took over from him. Brought Wonder Woman into her glory days, and showed everybody what the possibility is for the character. I see a lot of like echoes in the Absolute Wonder Woman book and Tom King's Wonder Woman book of the building on the foundation that George Perez showed them back in uh, the 1980s. Um, I'm just trying to I just want to touch on some of his biggest work in case you want to check it out. Like there, another big one. I'm a big Avengers fan, and during one of the Avengers reboots, they decided to, I think, was it the one coming out of the Heroes Reborn thing? I know I had that mistaken. Uh, but it might be. They had Kurt Busiek and um, George Perez to take over it. And, you know, Marv Wolfman and George Perez are one of the legendary um, creating teams of the time of ages. They're on the pantheon. They're on the Mount Rushmore. They are indelibly etched in the history books as being one of the best writer artist teams at the same time. But a close second to them is Kurt Busiek and George Perez. They took over the Avengers book, and for me to see, because I was young and I missed a lot of the Avengers he drew back then, and the Adventure books that got drawn by him, I didn't even realize like they were done by him because I didn't realize George Perez was George Perez back then. Um, but to have him come on there and like you know intricately detailed panels and thousands of characters working and doing stuff and like like bouncing off each other and fighting each other and stuff like that, and everybody drawn gorgeously. That's like my glory era for my first glory era of the Avengers was back when Roger Stern was on the title. The second one was the Busiek uh, Perez run. Uh, very little compared to it, to me at least. Um, but that kind of like led into his work on the JLA Avengers series. He was originally supposed to do. There's supposed to be a team up between the JLA and the Avengers, the two big teams from each side, back in the '80s. But no other better word for it, penny ante bullshit kind of like waylaid that. There's a whole issue of Comics Interview that is devoted to that, like everybody talking about that and what went wrong and why it fell apart and stuff like that. And everybody's pointing fingers, and George Perez is interviewed, man, and he sounds pissed. He really sounds like screw forget filters. I'm just gonna just go off, and he goes off there in his interview there about like him being doing that. But that's a dream project of him. He wanted to do that, and it was going to be written by Cary Bates. And I think just the problem is like Jim Shooter was constantly giving back notes back to them, uh, like doing penny ante little plot things, and like DC didn't think they deserved that, and that kind of like soured everybody on the team ups for another like 10 years afterwards. But that time the JLA Avengers never saw the light of day, but it was always in the back of like George Perez's mind, and I think he made a maxim that if you ever do it, I'm doing it. I don't care if I'm working for Image, I don't care if I'm working for CrossGen, I don't care if I'm working for like Louis' House of Discount Meats and Advertising. He will come back and he'll do it, and so um, he did it. They eventually made a crossover, a 4-issue prestige format, which is like the thick, like little kind of paperback book kind of things of it, where he was able to do every single character of the JLA and every Avengers meeting up, and he did so because the plot done by Kurt Busiek so was built constantly, like kind of like built for that purpose. He made a plot that where they bopped through time, and they had like crossovers, and they had this and they had that, and like the final battle is just basically like every single member zoning in, zoning out, zoning in, zoning out. Like like Superman loses the ability, becomes like the electronic Superman and goes back again. Like people change costumes, change powers, and he, like George Perez is able to draw all of it. Like um, I don't know if he relished it or not. I don't know if he enjoyed it or not. I don't know if it's like just a pain in the ass for him, but he kicked ass at it, and like it's one of my favorite things. It's not longer in print, but when George Perez passed away, uh, they did like a limited edition um, kind of a version of it to commemorate his passing, and it was like just for a couple thousand copies, and it was sold out, and it's to benefit the Hero Initiative. So it went for one of the causes that he liked to do. So that was good. I don't know how much it costs to actually track it down. You'd probably be used to tracking down the original issues. They're probably much cheaper for you too. Uh, but yeah, that is if you're a fanboy of the Avengers and or the JLA, that is a masterpiece for you to pick up and pick up and do that. Um, since that time, there's like he like George Perez was working right up to his death. He worked on Infinite Crisis.
Here's a double page splash from Infinite Crisis number 7 by Ivan Reis. Perfectly great artwork, but it's missing something. A lot of empty spaces there. Now let's take a look at a splash that replaced it by George Perez. It's exciting. It's bursting off the page. It is great. Much better.
He did the Legion of Three Worlds for the Final Crisis tie-in, which I thought was awesome because he didn't really draw the Legion, as far as I know, as much. And here he has 3 issues of drawing like 3 different versions of it. Um, if you don't get it, there's a recurring thing if you could pick up on this. Like he was really good, like putting hundreds of characters into one panel and making it all look good. He was good at drawing really big teams, really big crowd scenes, really big like epic kind of scale, kind of like panels. And he that was one of his strongest things about that. He could have a regular panel and have like like 5 different teams fighting against each other, and you could tell probably even without the coloring, without anything like that, who was who, what was which, and what they're doing, and what they're actually like they're thinking, even so much like that. And so he did that. He also did some work for CrossGen. He did a series called Solus there. He also did something like I think he did one for Dynamite called Sirens. He started a creator one called Crimson Plague, I believe it's called. It's um, that had a couple issues and stuff like that. He did come back to Superman for the new 52. He wrote Superman, and I think provided covers, but again, editorial like did behind the scenes editorial of that was like really messed up. So it was kind of he kind of didn't have a good experience with that. But he also did like some film issues here and that's like that uh, here and that. Um, and he'd like be on the convention circuit. I met him several times. He was such a nice guy. He was like one of the sweetest guys you ever met. Everybody who has a contact with him, who had contact with him, met him like once or was friends with him, talk about how a sweet and generous man he was. Um, Think about myself, like he was my idol, so I was like always nervous around there, and I always seemed to think like, and this might be just in my mind, he might not ever realize that I always felt like I had a Seinfeldian ability to inadvertently insult him without not meaning to. I remember one time New York Comic Con had a meet and greet. Um, it's like you had to pay extra money, and it was for exclusively George Perez. And he was there. He'd do sketches for you, and he'd sign a couple things for you, and then he'd talk about his life, and you could ask him questions and all kinds of stuff like this. And I asked him a question like he was doing like coming up with a pose and faces really quick. Everybody's getting like a head sketch. Like how do you decide like how to do sketches so fast? How does it come to your mind? Um, However, at the time, I think he was doing the Legion book of Three Worlds, and it was running a little bit late. And I think he took it as an offense, like, "How can you do these so fast when that's late, buddy?" And that's not my intention whatsoever. Um, but nonetheless, I digress. Uh, I always thought that that's what he thought about it. Maybe he didn't, but he went on to say like this, like I try to do everything like this, and the thing with like because you mentioned it, because like, the thing was a role. I'm running a little late on that, but it's just we have editorial stuff and there's stuff changing and stuff like this. So I'm like, okay, sorry. Um, but at that time, let me go into the time meet him. I think that might have been the first time I've met him, and like it was awesome. And I have a picture of him. If I could find it on here, I'll put it up here of him holding like the sketch he made for me, and me and him like next to him and doing like showing off the sketch. But that was when my wife was pregnant, so she came in. She also bought a ticket for the meet and greet because you get extra. She got like you could get another sketch and another. So because I got one sketch from the sketchbook and the other sketch on like like a backing board of the Beast in both of them because he's my favorite character. But my wife was in there, so the one on the backing board of the Beast. Who should I make this of? Bill, Jen, and well, yeah, but we don't have a name for our daughter yet. She was like, okay, look here, Bill, Jen, and put like 2009 on it, and like here, just come back and see me when they're done, and I'll add it on there. Um, so one time we were down. Then the next time we saw him, we were down in Wizard Philly, and our daughter was just I think a toddler at the time, maybe even an infant. And we went there and we went up to go like, hi, I have some, like hi, can I get your autograph and stuff like this? It goes like, not actually an autograph. It's kind of weird. It goes how weird. Like a couple of years ago, we met at the near Comic Con, and my wife was pregnant with my daughter, and like my daughter, she woke up with my daughter, and my daughter's asleep in the because that's what she used to do in the early days. We go to conventions, she falls asleep there, and we have pictures of her with Stan Lee, her being totally out. Um, and he goes, "Oh!" Last time we didn't know who she is, but she is. But now we have a name for her, Vanessa, and we'd like to put the name on here. You don't have to sign anything, you don't have to draw anything, you don't have to do anything like this. Give it to me. And he just signed it down. And it goes Vanessa, and I think it's like it was 2012 or 2011. 2011. He dated it on there just like so he could tell like this is we came back and stuff like that. So that's hanging by my desk, and I always kind of like I look to that and a lot of memories tied up to that. Uh, the next time I ran up to him was at a Terrificon. It was like one of the early ones that weren't. It wasn't at Mohegan Sun yet. It was at I think the Norwalk hockey rink. And he was there, and he's like, they had to around the rink area where like you have to go around before you get to the seats. Um, he was there, and he was doing stuff like this. And my daughter was up in there, and she was starting to like pay more attention to the convention. She's able to stay awake. How about that? She got there. I think she was dressed up as Elsa from Frozen because it was after Frozen came out. And if you had a kid who was anywhere near that age at that time, you know how pervasively Frozen entered into your life. Um, so she had her own little, like, she wanted to get her own sketchbook. And I go, okay, well, we could look around and go sketches, but this one guy definitely wants you to have a sketch off there. So we're walking around, and we're inside, and like we came to Fred Hembeck. Fred Hembeck is the first sketch in my daughter's sketchbook, first sketch she ever got. I don't know if she's going to appreciate it, or even like she occasionally gets sketches here and there, but it's kind of fell off. She's now 15 years old, and like she's into rings and stuff like that. But I digress. But the second one, I made sure to go out, and this was during I think when George Perez was having health issues. He was out, he was signing, he was doing stuff like this, and like I think it was like either $40 a piece or $80 a piece to get a sketch off him. So, but there it's kind of like looser and not as tight as it used to be, um, because he's ailing a little bit. Um, but I wanted to make sure that my daughter got a George Perez sketch in there. Um, and so I'll go like, uh, so we go up there and she goes, "Hi, can you do a sketch for me?" I goes, "Yeah, sure. What do you want?" Um, and goes, "Can you do Anna and Elsa?" Anna and Elsa, what from Frozen? Frozen, yes. So he pulls up. I think like either I pulled up for him or he pulled up on his own phone, like the design of Elsa. So he did like a whole full page of like one of those mini like just to show size comparison. This size of a notebook of Elsa, and then he turned the pages and did one of Anna next to each other. And my daughter was really happy about it. So was I. It was really great. Um, um, and yeah, so I think we paid him. I think he was like saying like, no, you don't, just pay me for like. So no, get both. And like I said, he goes like, goodbye, thank you very much. And like Vanessa was like smiling and everything like that. It was like really great experience and stuff like that. I think the last time I actually met him was uh, towards his farewell tour. I think it was at the uh, dearly missed East Coast Comic Con. That was one of the best Comic Cons ever. Uh, I really wish it'd come back. I could probably, I think like the COVID killed it. I think, but this is about the time he was. I think he was doing his farewell tour. There's rumors that he wasn't going to be back. I don't know if it's before the pandemic or after the pandemic. Um, but nonetheless, I got to see him, and you got to have another meet and greet with him. But it was like kind of like a dinner kind of thing. You could actually like they have like a spread out. You could do that there, and there's other people there. There's like Jim Starlin came out. Um, it was exclusively a tribute to George Perez. He was like the main star about this because it was his like farewell tour. So I don't know if it after he got his notification or he knew it was coming in the future or his health is getting that bad that he needed to deal with that. But it was his farewell tour, so went through that, and he came there again. went table to table talking to everybody and doing stuff, and like we're talking about him, and like one guy brought a whole set of like action figures of the Teen Titans. Another guy had a like big those like oversized toys of Batman, and he had everybody who worked on Batman sign that. And another brought like a you know a copy of an art book, and it was like just to see how many people like because what they're bringing to have him sign was something that made them love him. And it's interesting to see how many different ways he touched these people. I, of course, and I had perpetually printed out, I got a picture of us from that New York Comic Con, like 10, 15 years beforehand, like 10 or 11 years beforehand. I think like it was like 2019, so it was probably around 10 years beforehand. And I had him sign that to me, and I had another picture of us like doing the same pose. I'm on the left, he's on the right, and we're holding it, and then like going like this, and like I'm doing the thumbs up as I did that. And my idea was going like this. Okay, well, yeah, everybody has a farewell tour. They always say it's a farewell tour. It's going to be it's going to be like uh it's he's going to come back. I mean, come on, like I mean, even if he does he lived in Florida, even as a Florida tour, I could always convince my wife to like maybe travel down there one time and just have a nice vacation down there. In addition to going to Comic Con, and we could meet up again, and I could like get this picture printed out and have him sign that, and have like a whole infinity picture going on with that. So I got that there, and I talked about how much he meant for me, and thank you very much and stuff like this. And that was the last time I saw him, because in December of 2021, he was diagnosed. He was having a whole bunch of liver problems. He was having health problems. He was, I believe, diabetic. And speaking as a diabetic, stuff seems as you get older, this stuff piles up on you. Usually pretty quick, and usually in full force. So he had a whole bunch of stuff, but during the times of doing like the liver and stuff like this, they found cancer. They found that he had contracted pancreatic cancer, stage 4, inoperable, which was a death sentence. Which he took with great skill and aplomb, and more bravery and courage than I would ever. I know. If that happens to me, I'm going to be crying like a little baby. I'm going to be a whiny, bitchy little pain in the ass to everybody around me. And like I just want to give up and do that. But he went out and left. He lived his life because he knew there wasn't a lot of it left, the best he could. I used to follow him on social media, and there's pictures of him like getting snuck into Disney World. I don't know how, I don't know why. Um, I don't know, maybe because of his connections with Marvel to talk to Disney, and he got in there. And he had one last visit around the VIP pass exclusively for him for Disney, and like you know, a lot of people in the internet are like famous. Like, how's he get that night out? I'm like, you go, George. You have fun. He's there, wheelchair with like blankets over. And he's going around. He's big smile on his face, and it's like, good. You deserve that. You deserve to have a good, happy memory. Um, but eventually, like the end we knew was coming, and it came on May 6th of 2022. Um, just a scant like 3 years ago, and it seems at the same time like it was a million years ago, and also it was just like yesterday. And I did a tribute to him on writing it and on Film Buff Online, and maybe I'll put that down in a version of this if you want to like read it too. But you know, kind of hit me. It's hitting me now. All right, get it together, Bill. Because I didn't know him personally, but I found solace in his artwork. When things were going bad, things were going horrible. My parents died. When bad things happened, I found solace in his artwork. When good things happen,
when I met my wife, when we got married, when we had our child. I always turned to his artwork was always there. It's a constant companion, a constant form of strength to me. And it sounds like I'm an obsessive fan. Like I have the locks of his hair, like locked up, and you know, they have to keep me like stuff like this. But, like his death hit me hard, different than any death. It's like losing a family member. Uh, so when I saw that his birthday was coming up, and who knows how long I'm gonna have this for him. Uh, Figured I do a tribute to him because I figure the internet is which the internet is forever, and he deserves to have a memorial flame in the form of my blubbering, overweight, fat ass face crying on a part of my French. I stopped myself there on a freaking YouTube stuff uh, show, but um, yeah, it was like, but that's the whole thing. But I'm gonna go before I go off the subject. Like one of the things that's cool about George Perez is, especially meeting him as an adult. I met him pretty much I think after like for the first time after I was married, after I came to New York, and I was like probably in my 20s or 30s. Uh, let's see, 15, like 27, something like that. 37, something like that. But I was adult. But I was lived my own life, and back in northeastern Pennsylvania, uh, I used to do community theater. It was kind of like my friends. You know, I wanted to be an actor, but I don't have the talent or the voice or the face or anything for it. Um, but in northeastern Pennsylvania, you know, they did something called 12 Angry Men, and they need 12 angry men, and I could qualify as an angry man, and so I filled up a space and said my lines when I was supposed to, and did that. And that started me doing more shows and more shows and more shows. It became involved in community theater. But this is also an aspect I shared with George Perez. George Perez was involved in community theater in Florida. He was also doing musical theater. I couldn't carry a note if it had a handle, but he did all kinds of shows. But like, what's especially special, and no, I would like to collect these at some time, but it'd probably be monstrous expensive and incredibly hard to find. He would do the press, the publicity for the community theater programs. If you've never been to a community theater show, um, it's like you think it's like, oh, a bunch of people pretend to be Broadway, yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw Waiting for Guffman. I don't need to see anymore. But they also try to take a very pride and do professional stuff about it. Part of that is, you know, doing playbills, and usually they're not like the official playbills that have like the yellow on the top. They're just basically mimeograph stuff that tells you who the actors are, how many acts there are, stuff like that. Who helped put up the production. You also have a poster that goes along with it. I've drawn a couple posters for my stuff, and I'm still being abused by the people who made it today because I didn't do it good enough. And yeah, and yeah, that's a story for another website, not Billboard Comics. Um, but George Perez also did that. I don't know how if the people who were in the same thing with him realized exactly how lucky they were. I don't know if they realized exactly how big a deal having George Perez do your posters and your playbills. And I think some of them are online. I'm going to try to pop them up here periodically uh, to show you what he did. To do your for like uh, like Seven Brides and Seven Brothers or Oklahoma or whatever he did for. To have like one of the best artists that ever lived, one of the best comic books that ever put his pen to paper. Do your publicity. He probably did it for free. You didn't have to pay for it. And I just wonder if anybody actually realized that and appreciated fully exactly like what they had there, because that's really special. But like whenever I used to go up to him, uh, usually when I get to somebody I admire, I'm like really nervous. And usually, like people don't do this. Maybe it's like some kind of Asperger's or some kind of like mental stuff like this. but I get nervous and it takes me a while to like warm up. I'm like, or I turn to Chris Farley or Ed Grimley. Oh my god, I must say, I was like, yeah, remember that time you're in you did Teen Titans? Yeah, that was really cool. Um, but it kind of like it at least having a similar like knowing about the community theater gave me an opening to make it easier to talk to my idol and the legendary guy, and help me get past like the whole like starstruckness and have a conversation. And we were talking about stuff like this, and like go back with it and have like a little introduction and have his eyes light up and we talk about it because he loved it just as much as I did, and to have that little bonding experience was really special. But yeah, that that was that's a happy memory. I want to leave on a happy memory and stuff like that because like there's a lot of sadness in this world and a lot of sadness around this. But if I could leave you with one thing, if you have not ever seen George Perez's artwork, I mean, they're publishing variant covers that he did way back when, even to this day. You could go to your local uh, store or comic book store, and they will have a they're going to have like a whole. I think I just saw it in most recent previews. I think might maybe be coming out this month. Of he had did a cardboard like a postcard set featuring JSA, and they are all going to be variant covers for the DC comics coming out this month. Um, so you are seeing his artwork, but if you want to do a deep dive, get some of the art books that he has. Get the poster book that they have out with him. Uh, Go onto Marvel Unlimited or DC Universe and check out some of his stuff. Try to do it on the biggest screen you could possibly watch it on, uh, and just bask and take it in, and just stuff like that. Like, you know, like it's a different stuff from many people doing it today. Um, and know, but it's still should rock your socks off, and it should knock you out, and it should be really great. Uh, and if you like it, just keep going forward through future generations, so everybody knows who he is. Uh, because not that people are already doing that, but he is a name that should be known. Uh, so I pay tribute to Mr. George Perez. Thank you for all the entertainment, and I wish you were still here with us. But thank you for the memories you gave me and my family. And I hope that wherever you are, across the Rainbow Bridge or Valhalla, or as a ghost lurking around the swamps of Florida, or whatever, you are having a great time and creating great artwork with great friends, and you're at peace and at comfort. So, thank you for indulging me. I'll be back next time with probably a more seriously, less weepy segment. But until then, keep collecting and keep collecting George Perez. Seriously, give him a shot because you know if you only see a little bit of stuff, you only scratch the surface. So keep collecting. Thank you.